The political landscape of Thebes imagined living in a city with a glorious heritage, but under the control of your worst enemies. This was the scenario Pelopidas found in Thebes. What he did next would transform the fate of his city and shift the balance of power in Greece. In the early 4th century BCE, Thebes was a city with a proud past but a bleak present. Located in the region of Boeotia, Thebes had once been a significant player in Greek politics and culture, producing legends like Cadmus and Oedipus. However, following the end of the Peloponnesian War, Thebes had fallen under the domination of Sparta, a city known for its militaristic society and harsh control over its allies. For the Thebans, the once great city had become little more than a Spartan puppet, its autonomy stripped away and its future dim. The Thebans deeply resented their subjugation by Sparta. The Spartan garrison station in the Cadmea, the citadel of Thebes, was a constant reminder of their loss of independence. Yet, Thebes had the potential to rise again, and many of its citizens harbored hopes of reclaiming their freedom. But to do that, they needed a leader, someone brave enough to defy Sparta and skilled enough to guide the city back to greatness. That leader would emerge in the form of Pelopidas, a man of vision, courage, and an unyielding desire to restore Theban glory. After the Peloponnesian War for 314 BCE, Sparta had established itself as the dominant power in Greece. Although victorious over Athens, Sparta soon turned its attention to consolidating its power over the Greek city-states, including Thebes. The Thebans, despite their initial alliance with Sparta during the war, found themselves increasingly marginalized and oppressed by Spartan authority. Thebes had been forced to accept a pro-Spartan oligarchy, with a government that answered more to the interests of Sparta than to the needs of its own people. Worse still, Sparta stationed a permanent garrison on the Cadmea, the symbolic heart of Thebes, which was now under enemy occupation. For the proud Thebans, this was a bitter pill to swallow. Their city's rich cultural history, marked by heroic myths and an illustrious military past, was overshadowed by the iron grip of Sparta's control. Despite these hardships, resistance against Sparta simmered beneath the surface. Many in Thebes believed their city could once again assert its independence, but they needed a leader with both the tactical brilliance and the bravery to stand up to the might of Sparta. Enter Pelopidas, a nobleman who had been quietly biding his time, waiting for the right moment to strike. Living under Spartan rule was like having a strict landlord who never left your house, watching your every move and making sure you didn't get too comfortable. Pelopidas was born into a wealthy aristocratic family in Thebes around 10 BCE. He was educated in the finest traditions of Greek aristocracy, excelling in both athletic and military pursuits. But more than just a warrior, Pelopidas was driven by a deep sense of patriotism and a burning desire to see Thebes restored to its former glory. He recognized that the key to Theban independence lay not just in defying Sparta militarily, but in rallying the people of Thebes and Boeotia to a common cause. Although Thebes was under the firm grip of Sparta, Pelopidas began to gather a group of like-minded individuals who believed in the potential for revolt. This group would eventually become the nucleus of the resistance that would free Thebes, but in the early days, it was little more than a small, secretive gathering of Theban patriots. Among them was Epaminondas, a close friend of Pelopidas and one of the most brilliant military minds in Greek history. Together, the two men would form one of the greatest partnerships in Greek military history, destined to change the course of Theban and Greek fortunes. Pelopidas' reputation as a bold leader grew after a near-death experience during a skirmish with the Spartans. Captured and imprisoned by the Spartans during one of their many campaigns in the region, Pelopidas was eventually freed and returned to Thebes more determined than ever to liberate his city. This act of personal courage earned him a following among Thebans, especially those who yearned for the day they could throw off the Spartan yoke. Although Thebes was struggling under Spartan rule, the city had a history of military and cultural strength that was waiting to be revived. Thebes had been a center of Greek mythology and was known for its warriors and athletes. It had a tradition of producing excellent soldiers, and its position in the fertile region of Boeotia gave it access to resources that could support a strong army. What Thebes lacked at the time was a leader who could unlock its potential and harness the city's strength against its oppressors. For Pelopidas, Thebes wasn't just another Greek city, it was a place with a deep sense of identity and a glorious history, one that deserved to be free from foreign control. He believed that if the Thebans could be united under a common cause, they could challenge even the mighty Spartan army. Pelopidas, alongside Epaminondas, started laying the groundwork for what would eventually become a movement of national liberation, gathering support not only from Thebes but also from other cities in Boeotia. While Pelopidas prepared for the future, Sparta remained overconfident in its control over Thebes. After all, the Spartans were known as the greatest warriors of Greece, and they believed that no city could rise up against their iron rule. But Pelopidas knew that it was precisely this overconfidence that would be Sparta's undoing. As tensions between the Spartan garrison and the citizens of Thebes grew, the stage was set for an inevitable confrontation. The growing resentment towards Spartan rule gave Pelopidas the opportunity he had been waiting for. He understood that rebellion against Sparta wouldn't be easy after all. The Spartans had built their entire reputation on military dominance, and their army was still the most feared in Greece. But Pelopidas believed that with the right strategy and the right allies, Thebes could be freed. Pelopidas began making contacts with anti-Spartan factions in neighboring cities, building a network of allies who were willing to join the fight for Theban independence. It was a bold plan, one that would put him at the center of one of the most significant revolts in Greek history. But for Pelopidas, there was no turning back. Thebes' future depended on action, and he was ready to lead the charge. The Theban revolt, Pelopidas after years of Spartan domination, the tension in Thebes was palpable. The Spartans, known for their ruthless control over Greek cities, had transformed Thebes into a mere puppet state, with a pro-Spartan government and a military garrison occupying the Cadme, the city's citadel. But in the shadows, Pelopidas was preparing for a bold and daring mission to free Thebes from its captors. His triumphant return would not only liberate his city, but also set the stage for one of the greatest challenges to Spartan dominance in Greek history. In 380 BCE, after a Spartan-backed coup installed a pro-Spartan oligarchy in Thebes, Pelopidas and several other prominent Thebans were exiled from their city. This event, while devastating for Theban democracy, would prove to be the turning point for Pelopidas' rise as a revolutionary leader. Exile forced Pelopidas to think strategically about how to strike back at Sparta and restore Theban independence. While in exile, Pelopidas gathered like-minded Theban patriots who, like him, longed to return to their homeland and liberated from Spartan control. Among these men were those who shared his belief that Thebes was not destined to remain a vassal state under Sparta's iron fist. During this time, Pelopidas also forged alliances with anti-Spartan factions in other cities, including Athens, which had its own reasons to see Sparta's influence weaken. Pelopidas, with the support of Epaminondas and other exiles, began plotting a daring plan, a covert operation to retake Thebes from within. It would be a coup unlike any other, one that relied on secrecy, loyalty, and, most of all, the courage to face a Spartan garrison entrenched in the heart of their city. Being exiled might sound like a forced vacation, but for Pelopidas, it was more like a planning retreat, except the agenda was overthrowing the most feared army in Greece. As Pelopidas prepared to return to Thebes, He understood that military strength alone wouldn't be enough to topple Sparta. What he needed was a force that was not just highly skilled, but also deeply committed to the cause. Enter the Sacred Band of Thebes. The Sacred Band was an elite military unit composed of 150 pairs of male lovers, bound by loyalty, honor, and a desire to fight for the freedom of their city. The idea was that men who fought alongside their lovers would be even braver and more resolute in battle, willing to die rather than let their partner fall. This bond made the Sacred Band one of the most formidable military units in the ancient world. Pelopidas, recognizing the potential of such a force, took command of the Sacred Band and trained them in secret. This brotherhood of warriors would form the backbone of his revolutionary forces, ready to strike when the moment came. Pelopidas believed that their courage, combined with his strategic acumen, would give Thebes the edge it needed against the Spartans. The Sacred Band wasn't just a military unit, it was a symbol of the unity and strength that Pelopidas wanted to bring back to Thebes. These soldiers weren't fighting for riches or glory. They were fighting for each other and for the future of their city. In 379 BCE, after years of preparation and exile, Pelopidas and his small band of exiles, along with the Sacred Band, put their plan into action. The plan was both daring and dangerous. They would sneak into Thebes under the cover of night, assassinate the pro-Spartan leaders, and seize control of the city from within. Disguised as travelers and making their way through the city with the help of local supporters, Pelopidas and his men infiltrated Thebes. The risk of being discovered was immense, but Pelopidas' leadership and careful planning ensured that the operation remained under the radar of the Spartan garrison stationed in the Academy. Once inside the city, Pelopidas and his followers struck with precision. They targeted the pro-Spartan oligarchs, who had been collaborating with the Spartan occupation force. In a swift and coordinated attack, Pelopidas' men eliminated these collaborators, catching the Spartan-backed government completely off guard. With the leadership of the oligarchy eliminated, Pelopidas quickly moved to rally the citizens of Thebes. The people of Thebes, long simmering with resentment toward their Spartan overlords, rose up in support of Pelopidas, and a full-blown revolt erupted. The Thebans, emboldened by Pelopidas' leadership, stormed the Academy and, after a fierce battle, expelled the Spartan garrison. The revolution had succeeded beyond anyone's expectations. Pelopidas had not only freed Thebes but also delivered one of the first major blows to Spartan dominance in Greece. By the morning after the coup, the Thebans were in control of their city once again. The pro-Spartan oligarchs were dead, the Academy was back in Theban hands, and the Spartan army had been driven out. Pelopidas had succeeded where many thought it was impossible. He had liberated Thebes from Sparta's grasp. The success of the Theban revolt reverberated across Greece. Not only had Pelopidas freed his city, but he had also demonstrated that even the mighty Spartans could be challenged. This was a significant turning point in Greek history, as the seemingly invincible Spartan hegemony had been cracked. Pelopidas was hailed as a hero by his fellow Thebans. The revolution marked the beginning of a new era for Thebes, one in which the city would rise to become a major power in the Greek world. The Sacred Band, under Pelopidas' leadership, became the symbol of Theban military prowess, ready to defend the city from any future threats. Pelopidas didn't just stop with liberating Thebes. He and his ally, Epaminondas, would go on to lead Thebes through a series of military victories that would reshape the balance of power in Greece. Thebes was no longer under Spartan rule, but Pelopidas knew that to secure the city's future, they would need to prepare for war. Thebes was now free, but Sparta would not forget the humiliation it had suffered. The Battle of Leuctra. By the time Thebes had freed itself from Spartan control, tensions were running high throughout Greece. Sparta, long considered the dominant military power, had established its hegemony over much of the Greek world after its victory in the Peloponnesian War. With its elite hoplites and disciplined society, Sparta's military might was unquestioned. Cities like Athens and Argos had previously suffered under Spartan dominance, and few dared to challenge them openly. But Thebes was different. Under the leadership of Pelopidas and his close ally Epaminondas, the Thebans were determined to prove that even Sparta could be defeated. In the years following their liberation from Spartan control, Thebes had been steadily growing in strength, building alliances and preparing for the inevitable showdown with Sparta. Pelopidas and Epaminondas believed that the key to Theban independence and the security of all Boeotia was to challenge Sparta directly on the battlefield. The opportunity came in 371 BCE. Thebes and Sparta had been on a collision course since the Theban Revolt, and after years of tension, both sides were ready for war. The decisive confrontation would take place near the small town of Leuctra in Boeotia. Sparta's reputation was built on the strength of its phalanx, a formidable formation of tightly packed hoplites, armed with long spears and protected by heavy shields. The Spartan phalanx was considered nearly unbreakable in head-on combat, and it had been the key to their dominance for decades. However, Pelopidas and Epaminondas knew that trying to defeat the Spartans with conventional tactics was a recipe for disaster. Instead, Epaminondas, with the full support of Pelopidas, devised a bold and unorthodox strategy. Rather than matching the Spartans with an equally distributed line of hoplites, Epaminondas concentrated his forces on one side of the battlefield. He deepened the left flank of the Theban army, stacking it with 50 ranks of soldiers rather than the traditional 8 or 12. This created a powerful, concentrated force that could punch through the Spartan lines, while the rest of the Theban army played a more defensive role. This tactic, known as the oblique formation, was revolutionary. It allowed the Thebans to focus their strength on a single point of the Spartan line, overwhelming it with sheer numbers and force. Pelopidas, as commander of the elite sacred band, would play a crucial role in leading this concentrated attack, putting his most trusted and skilled fighters in the heart of the action. This was a gamble, but Pelopidas and Epaminondas understood that defeating Sparta required more than bravery, it required innovation. On the day of the battle, the two armies faced off in the fields near Leuctra. The Spartans, led by their king Cleombrotus, were confident in their superiority. They believed that Thebes, despite its recent victories, could never match the discipline and power of Spartan warriors. The Spartans had never been decisively defeated in open battle by a smaller force, and they had little reason to expect that this day would be any different. But Pelopidas and Epaminondas had other plans. As the battle began, the Theban army advanced with their left flank heavily reinforced by the sacred band and the elite Boeotian hoplites. The Spartans, expecting a traditional engagement, were caught off guard by the oblique formation and the concentrated force against their right wing. The sacred band, led by Pelopidas, charged directly into the Spartan elite forces, targeting the right wing where King Cleombrotus himself was stationed. The deep, densely packed Theban forces hit the Spartan line with tremendous force, and the Spartans, unaccustomed to this kind of direct assault, began to waver. King Cleombrotus was mortally wounded in the initial fighting, and his death caused confusion and panic within the Spartan ranks. As the Thebans pressed their advantage, the Spartan phalanx began to crumble. The myth of Spartan invincibility was shattered in an instant as the Theban forces cut through the once mighty Spartan army. By the end of the battle, over 1,000 Spartan soldiers lay dead, including 400 of their elite hoplites, and unprecedented defeat for a force that prided itself on never retreating. The Battle of Leuctra was a turning point not just for Thebes but for all of Greece. The Spartans had suffered a humiliating defeat, and their reputation as the greatest military power and Greece was permanently damaged. The defeat at Leuctra had far-reaching consequences for Sparta and the entire Greek world. For centuries, Sparta had been the dominant military power, using its formidable hoplites to enforce its will across the Greek city-states. But Leuctra changed everything. For the first time, Sparta's aura of invincibility had been shattered, and the city found itself in a weakened position. The loss of so many of its finest soldiers, including much of the Spartan elite, severely crippled Sparta's military capabilities. More than just a military defeat, Leuctra marked the beginning of the end of Spartan hegemony over Greece. Cities that had once feared and obeyed Sparta began to challenge its authority, emboldened by the Theban victory. For Thebes, the victory at Leuctra was the start of a new golden age. Under the leadership of Pelopidas and Epaminondas, Thebes emerged as the dominant power in Greece. The city became the head of the Boeotian League, and Theban influence spread throughout the region. Thebes, once a city under Spartan control, had now taken the mantle of leadership in Greece. While Epaminondas is often credited with the innovative tactics that led to the victory at Leuctra, Pelopidas played a vital role in executing the plan. As the leader of the sacred band, Pelopidas was at the forefront of the battle, leading the charge against the Spartan elite. His courage and tactical brilliance were crucial in breaking through the Spartan lines and delivering the decisive blow that turned the tide of the battle. The sacred band, under Pelopidas' leadership, fought with unmatched valor and determination. Their role in the battle was not just symbolic, it was the spearhead of the Theban assault. The success of the oblique formation depended on the ability of the sacred band to withstand the initial clash with the Spartan hoplites, and Pelopidas ensured that his men were ready for the challenge. Pelopidas' leadership at Leuctra cemented his reputation as one of Thebes' greatest heroes, and his victory was celebrated throughout Greece. Thebes had not only liberated itself from Spartan control but had delivered a blow that would reshape the entire Greek world. The alliance with Epaminondas, the victory at Leuctra, was not the end of the story for Thebes. It was just the beginning. Under the combined leadership of Pelopidas and Epaminondas, Thebes entered a new golden age, becoming the dominant military power in Greece. Their partnership, based on mutual respect and a shared vision for Thebes' future, was one of the most successful alliances in Greek history. While Epaminondas is often remembered for his strategic genius, it was Pelopidas who provided the inspiration and leadership on the battlefield. Together, they formed a dynamic duo that led Thebes through its most glorious period. Epaminondas, with his deep intellect and tactical innovation, and Pelopidas, with his courage and leadership, complemented each other perfectly. The two men had a shared goal: to break Spartan dominance once and for all and secure Thebes' place as the leading city in Boeotia and beyond. Pelopidas continued to command the sacred band, the elite force that had become the pride of Theban military might. His bond with his soldiers and his ability to inspire them in battle made the sacred band one of the most feared military units in Greece. Meanwhile, Epaminondas used his innovative military strategies to lead the Theban army in a series of campaigns that would further solidify Theban dominance. After the Battle of Leuctra, Pelopidas and Epaminondas set their sights on one of Sparta's greatest symbols of power: its control over Messenia, a region to the west of Sparta whose people had been enslaved by the Spartans for centuries. The Helots, the enslaved Messenians, formed the backbone of Sparta's economy, providing agricultural labor that allowed the Spartans to maintain their military dominance. By liberating Messenia, Pelopidas and Epaminondas knew they could deliver a decisive blow to Spartan power. In 369 BCE, Epaminondas led a Theban army, with Pelopidas at his side, into the Peloponnese. The goal was not only to defeat the Spartan army, but to permanently weaken Sparta's hold on the region by liberating Messenia. The campaign was a huge success. The Thebans marched into Messenia and, after a series of battles, freed the Helots and allowed the Messenians to establish their independence. The liberation of Messenia had long-lasting consequences for Sparta. With the loss of the Helot labor force, Sparta's economy was crippled, and the city was never able to recover its former military power. For Thebes, it was another major victory, cementing its position as the protector of the oppressed and the new leader of Greek affairs. Freeing the Helots wasn't just a tactical win for Pelopidas, it was the ancient Greek equivalent of Sparta losing its power source. No Helots, no empire. Looks like someone unplugged the Spartan machine. Following their success in Messenia, Pelopidas and Epaminondas continued to expand Theban influence throughout Greece. They were determined not only to maintain Theban dominance in Boeotia, but to extend it across the entire Greek world. Their victory at Leuctra had inspired other cities to rise up against Sparta, and Thebes quickly became the center of a new alliance of Greek states. One of the key goals of Pelopidas and Epaminondas was to create a unified Boeotia, with Thebes as its leader. By uniting the smaller cities and towns of the region under Theban control, they hoped to build a strong and stable power base that could rival both Sparta and Athens. Pelopidas, as a skilled diplomat as well as a military leader, worked tirelessly to bring Boeotia's cities into the fold, offering them protection in exchange for loyalty. In addition to their success in Boeotia, Pelopidas and Epaminondas sought to challenge the influence of Athens, which was attempting to rebuild its power in the aftermath of the Peloponnesian War. Thebes entered into strategic alliances with cities across Greece, including Argos and Arcadia, creating a network of allies that could counter both Spartan and Athenian influence. The result was a Theban-led coalition that dominated Greek politics for much of the 4th century BCE. With Pelopidas leading the sacred band and Epaminondas directing overall strategy, Thebes reached the height of its power, rivaling Athens during its golden age. Despite their success, Pelopidas and Epaminondas faced significant challenges, both from external enemies and from within Thebes itself. The Athenians, always wary of rising powers, were not pleased to see Thebes ascending to the top of the Greek political ladder. Tensions between Thebes and Athens grew, especially as Thebes' influence began to rival that of Athens in key areas of trade and military alliances. Internally, not all Thebans were united in their support of Pelopidas and Epaminondas. Some factions within Thebes, particularly those tied to the oligarchic class, were uncomfortable with the growing power of the democratic movement that Pelopidas and Epaminondas represented. There were fears that Thebes' military ventures were stretching the city's resources too thin and that its aggressive foreign policy could lead to disastrous consequences. In addition, Pelopidas was personally drawn into conflicts beyond Thebes. In 367 BCE, he traveled to Thessaly to mediate a dispute between local rulers, but he was betrayed and captured by Alexander of Pherae, a tyrant of Thessaly. While this event temporarily removed Pelopidas from the political scene, it did not weaken his influence. The Thebans, outraged by his capture, sent an army led by Epaminondas to rescue him, further cementing Pelopidas' status as a hero upon his return. By the mid-360s BCE, Thebes had reached the pinnacle of its power. Under the leadership of Pelopidas and Epaminondas, the city had humbled Sparta, expanded its influence throughout Boeotia, and forged alliances that made it the most powerful city-state in Greece. The once enslaved Messenia was now free, and Thebes had earned a reputation as the defender of Greek freedom against tyranny. However, Pelopidas and Epaminondas understood that Thebes' dominance could not last forever without continued military and political vigilance. Both leaders remained committed to securing Thebes' future even as cracks began to appear in their ambitious plans. While Thebes had managed to check Sparta's power, Athens remained a formidable rival, and maintaining the delicate balance of alliances required constant diplomacy and military readiness. Pelopidas and Epaminondas' shared vision for Thebes, a city that stood as a beacon of liberty and justice, was one that inspired not only their fellow Thebans but also many other Greek city-states looking to escape the shadow of Spartan dominance. Together, they reshaped the Greek political landscape, challenging the traditional powers and proving that even the mighty Spartans could fall. Pelopidas' final years were marked by continued service to Thebes, but also growing tensions across Greece. In 364 BCE, Pelopidas led a campaign in Thessaly, where he sought to limit the power of Alexander of Pherae, a tyrant who had become a threat to Theban influence. Despite his military successes, Pelopidas met his end during the Battle of Cynocephalae, where he was killed while fighting bravely on the front lines. Pelopidas' death was a devastating blow to Thebes. He had been the heart of the city's military might, and his loss was deeply felt among the Theban people and their allies. While Epaminondas remained to carry the torch of leadership, Pelopidas' absence marked the beginning of a slow decline in Theban power. The city's dominance continued for a few more years under Epaminondas, but after Epaminondas' own death in the Battle of Messenia in 360 BCE, Thebes began to lose its grip on Greek affairs. Without the leadership of these two heroes, Thebes was unable to maintain its position as a hegemonic power, and rival cities, particularly Athens and Sparta, began to reassert themselves. Although Thebes' period of supremacy was relatively short-lived, the influence of Pelopidas and Epaminondas left an indelible mark on the Greek world. Their victories had not only humbled Sparta, but also showed that military innovation and strategic brilliance could alter the balance of power in Greece. Pelopidas was the kind of leader who literally led from the front and paid the ultimate price. If he'd had a motto, it'd probably be something like charging in headfirst is always a good idea. Until it isn't. While many figures from ancient Greece like Alexander the Great or Pericles are household names, Pelopidas is often overshadowed despite his monumental contributions to Greek history. One reason for this is that Pelopidas operated in a period of transition between the dominance of Athens and Sparta and the rise of Macedonia under Philip II. The relatively brief period of Theban power during the 4th century BC is often viewed as a temporary disruption rather than a long-lasting era of Greek history. However, to the people of Thebes, Pelopidas was a hero in every sense of the word. He wasn't just a general, he was a symbol of resistance and freedom, the man who had defied the might of Sparta and liberated his city. Pelopidas' courage on the battlefield, his dedication to Theban democracy, and his loyalty to his fellow soldiers made him a beloved figure. In many ways, Pelopidas embodied the ideal of the citizen soldier, someone who fought not for personal gain, but for the freedom and prosperity of his homeland. His willingness to put himself on the front lines in every battle earned him the respect and admiration of both his soldiers and his fellow citizens. While he may not have enjoyed the long-lasting fame of other Greek figures, those who study ancient military history recognize Pelopidas as one of the great tacticians of his time. His leadership of the Sacred Band, his collaboration with Epaminondas, and his role in the Theban Revolution all highlight his strategic brilliance and unwavering commitment to Thebes. Pelopidas' most lasting contribution to the history of warfare was his leadership of the Sacred Band of Thebes. The Sacred Band, an elite unit composed of 150 pairs of male lovers, was revolutionary for its time. While other Greek city-states relied on traditional phalanxes composed of citizen soldiers, the Sacred Band was a highly trained, professional force that operated with a level of cohesion and discipline unmatched in the ancient world. The close bonds between the members of the sacred band made them an extremely effective fighting force. They fought not just for Thebes, but for each other. Pelopidas' leadership helped forge the sacred band into a fearsome military unit capable of taking on the best of the Spartan army and emerging victorious. At the Battle of Leuctra, the sacred band played a key role in the Theban victory, directly challenging and defeating the elite Spartan forces. Pelopidas also influenced the tactics of Greek warfare through his collaboration with Epaminondas. Their use of the oblique formation at Leuctra, which concentrated force on one side of the battlefield, was a brilliant innovation that helped break the Spartan phalanx. This tactic, combined with the sacred band's elite training, showed that quality could overcome quantity in battle, and that even the mighty Spartans were vulnerable to new military strategies. The success of Pelopidas and the sacred band inspired other Greek city-states to rethink their military strategies. For a time, Thebes set the standard for Greek warfare, with other cities trying to emulate the effectiveness of the sacred band and the tactical genius of its leaders. While Pelopidas is best known for his military achievements, his commitment to Theban democracy and freedom was equally important. Pelopidas fought not just to defeat Sparta, but to restore Thebes to its status as a self-governing democracy, free from foreign domination. His vision for Thebes was one where the people had a say in their government, and where military power was used to protect, not oppress. Pelopidas' revolution against Sparta was not just a military coup, it was a fight for democratic values. By overthrowing the pro-Spartan oligarchy, Pelopidas restored democratic governance in Thebes, allowing the people to take control of their own destiny. This commitment to democracy set Thebes apart from other Greek city-states, many of which were ruled by oligarchies or tyrants. Pelopidas' belief in the power of the citizen soldier was central to his leadership. He understood that the strength of Thebes came not just from its military, but from the unity of its people. This belief in collective action and shared responsibility helped solidify Theban society during its brief period of dominance. Although Theban democracy did not last long after the deaths of Pelopidas and Epaminondas, their legacy as defenders of freedom and self-governance continued to inspire future generations. The ideals they fought for, autonomy, democracy, and justice, remained central to the Greek political identity. Pelopidas may not have lived to see the full fruits of his labor, but his contributions to the military, political, and social landscape of ancient Greece were profound. His partnership with Epaminondas reshaped the power dynamics of Greece, ending Spartan hegemony and proving that innovative tactics and strong leadership could overcome even the most formidable enemies. The sacred band continued to be a symbol of Theban pride and military excellence until its final defeat at the Battle of Chaeronea in 338 BCE, where it was wiped out by the forces of Philip II of Macedon. Even in defeat, the sacred band was remembered as a unit that fought with unwavering loyalty and bravery, embodying the values that Pelopidas had instilled in them. Pelopidas' influence can also be seen in the later tactics of Alexander the Great, whose use of specialized, highly trained units in combination with innovative battlefield strategies reflected the same principles that Pelopidas and Epaminondas had used to defeat the Spartans. In this way, Pelopidas' legacy lived on through the military successes of Macedonia, even as Thebes itself faded from prominence. Pelopidas might have been forgotten by history books, but every time a general uses a clever battlefield strategy, a little piece of him is right there, probably smiling, thinking, "I told you that oblique formation would work." Final conclusion: Pelopidas may not be as widely remembered as some of his contemporaries, but his legacy is deeply embedded in the history of Greek warfare, democracy, and leadership. From his daring coup to liberate Thebes to his innovative military strategies, Pelopidas showed that bold leadership and a commitment to one city could reshape the world. Although Thebes' time at the top was brief, Pelopidas' contributions to its rise remain a testament to the power of visionary leadership. His collaboration with Epaminondas and his role in the formation of the sacred band left a lasting mark on the ancient world, inspiring future generations of soldiers, statesmen, and revolutionaries. So, what do you think? Does Pelopidas deserve a bigger place in the pantheon of Greek heroes? Or is he destined to remain one of Boeotia's forgotten heroes? Let us know your thoughts on the man who dared to challenge Sparta and change Greek history forever.
By my side, intense, strong, no fear to face, nowhere to hide, intense. I subscribe to this channel, click like today, because content like this just lights my way, intense and slow.